Okay, hi everyone. So today we're going to have three different speakers, all with different women that want to share their history of active travel and cycling as a woman. And then at the end, you'll have the opportunity to ask any questions that you may think of while they're speaking. So you can either write it down in a notebook or put it in the chat, and then we'll ask them after all three speak. So the first speaker, I'm going to try my best to pronounce this. Gracia Sotomayor is the first speaker, and she studied communications and specialized in digital marketing in Lima, Peru. After working on her career for a few years, she decided to leave the country and start training in artistic cycling. So she'll tell more about herself now.
Hi everybody. Thank you very much. I am really happy to have this opportunity to share with you all. So, well, my name is Gracia Sotomayor, and I want to use the bike as a tool of empowerment. So I want to start by asking you, how do you think traditional bike is used, and how do you use it, and why do you use it? So if you have that image in your mind, I would like to ask you some other thing. Are you sure? Are you sure that is how a bike is used? So this sport is artistic cycling, and it's a sport that literally changed my life. This is me having the opportunity to represent my country, Peru. That was last year in the World Championship in Stuttgart, Germany. So in my life, I think that there are three main stages or three things that defined the way I am today. So the first thing was that I come from a traditional mindset society. And traditional mindset societies are defined because boys and girls are not equal, right? So girls are supposed to be delicate and fragile and weak. Boys are more they're more strong, and they can go outside the house and play football. Like there is certain behavior that a girl is supposed to follow, and certain behavior that a boy is also supposed to follow. So yeah, my life, my limitations were defined by my outside world. I was always told what to do. I was told what to like, pink. I was told that I was going to be a good wife and I had to be a good mother. And I never thought about what I really wanted because everything was already defined. I just needed to concentrate and to focus on how to accomplish the things that I was told to do, the chores that were given to me because I'm a girl. So that also made me really dependent. Women are fragile and weak, so they depend on a boy or a man to take care of them. There is a no-go for going alone outside in the night. I always needed to have the companion of a man to go outside my house. So I felt really short and really limited. But that was only until I met my bike. For me, my bike is my best friend. And that's the second stage of my life. The bike is historically known for breaking biases and redefining women's independence. Well, they even had to take out their corsets and start wearing pants in order to use the bike. So the bike was a tool of revolution. And the bike was a tool also of revolution for my own mind. Starting to ride the bike made me realize that actually I could go wherever I want, whenever I want, because I had my own way of moving around the city. It was not easy at the beginning because I was catcalled. When you are a girl and you're walking alone, a lot of men are going to see you as an object and they are going to catcall you, and that's really not nice. But you know, like starting to ride on my bike made me leave those moments behind because I was focusing on what I was doing. I was riding my bike 10 kilometers from my house to my job. And I thought like, oh, wow, that's really nice. I can use my bike to move. Like I don't have to wait for nobody to pick me up, and so I can go to my job. And then I started to ride in 20 kilometers per day, and then it was 60, and I was like, oh, wow, I actually think that I can do more than what I thought I could. So it changed my life. I realized that I could accomplish things that I never thought, that my legs and my mind were my motor, and that the bike really made me feel free, made me feel independent. So it started breaking a lot of my own boundaries. My perception of myself changed, of the things that I could do. And then that was already really great. But then I saw in a magazine this picture of this girl doing this, and I thought, wow, that is amazing. So that's the third stage in which I am right now. That's artistic cycling, and it became my passion. I watched that image and I felt so inspired. I thought that girl must be a superwoman, because how is it possible that that's even happening? I started doing some research and I couldn't find anything. All the clues lead to Germany. And I felt so inspired and so amazed by that image, by that sport, that I needed to follow it. So I moved to Germany and I met really amazing people. There's an organization that is called Indoor Cycling Worldwide, and they promote this sport. So they helped me a lot to be able to train this sport. This sport is usually trained when they are around 9, 10 years old. I started with more than 25, so that's kind of late, but they gave me the opportunity. And through this sport, I started to know more about myself. I started to see that I could accomplish things that I thought that were impossible. I never thought that I was going to use the bike in another way, but I started learning it. And it was not easy. The process is not easy, but I am doing it. And when I think about the things that I am doing and the things that I am learning that I thought they were impossible, now I realize that I don't think there's such a thing as impossible, like really, really impossible. It just takes a lot of time and a lot of patience and a lot of perseverance, but I am accomplishing it. So it makes me feel powerful. It makes me feel something that I never felt when I was in my society, when I was limited by my outside world. So yeah, this sport became my life, and this sport inspires me a lot. So I want to share that with you and with everybody else in the world, with all the women. I want to inspire them by doing the things that makes me happy. And I would like to encourage you also to be true to yourself. And when you're true to yourself, then you find these moments of happiness. For me, it was my bike. And when I start riding my bike and I feel like truly, truly happy, I feel that I can share that I had within me, I can share with other people. And that's what makes it worth for me. So the whole path, it's definitely not easy. It was not easy for me to go through all of this stage that I told you about, but it's really, really worth it because I can see my own progress and I can change my own perception. I just have to find these moments of freedom, and that makes me self-aware and of what I can do, and that's really, really nice to feel. So go and do what makes you happy, find these moments of happiness, of freedom, and although it's not easy, just continue, because through all of these actions you can really change mindsets. That's why I am aiming to do with this sport, to show it to the world in order for them to know what it's hard, but it's amazing. When you accomplish this, it's really, really amazing. So Alfonsina Estrada said, as long as there's someone who sees what I see and feel what I feel, then the fire inside me lives in my denimer cyclist. And I totally agree with her. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Gracia. That was awesome. If anyone remember, if you have questions, you can ask her at the end. So that will bring us to our next speaker, who is Martina Callanan. I hope I said that correctly. Martina is involved in the Galway cycling campaign as a volunteer, and because she wanted to help make a safe space for people to walk and cycle in a culture where people on bikes are expected and respected. Now we'll let her take over and give her experience. Martina.
Thank you very much. Thanks so much for inviting me to be here with you today. I don't have a green background for anti-cycles or for the Women's Suffragette Club. I am wearing my green Gansey with some flowers on it. So these are very feminine symbols. So it's terrific to, I'm such a fan of the anti-cycles campaigns. And as Brian said, I'm deputy chair of the Galway Cycling Campaign. So we're a group of volunteers who just want happier, healthier streets for people of all ages and all abilities to walk, scoot and cycle from your front door at home to local schools, shops, sports pitches, the cinema, wherever you want to go. And that's what we're about. So I'm going to take a couple of minutes today to really try and give you some campaign toolbox for these wonderful freedom machines that Gracia was talking about, that I also love, and to help you become leaders beyond the school gate and into your communities. And I really want to go away today with the feeling that there are adults across this country, volunteers and political leaders who want to help you, who want to help more teen girls cycle, which I think is absolutely brilliant. So we're going to do the I'll share screen and hope that it works. Are we all okay? Can you give me a thumbs up there, Brianne? Great, thank you. So, yes, campaign toolbox for freedom machines. This is what I am about. So a little bit just about me. So I'm an arts humanities graduate. I have a background in education and the nonprofit sector, in campaigning, advocacy and communications. If you have a flat tire, I'll be able to pump it, but if there's something wrong with your bike chain, don't ask me, bring it to a bike mechanic. And I'm really, really passionate that people on bikes should just be able to use a bike and use it easily, and we shouldn't need to become engineers, whether to fix their own bikes or even to get around our towns, villages and cities. I'm on Twitter at Martina Callanan, so please, you're welcome to connect with me there. And I really want to talk today about grassroots campaigning, because this is absolutely critical for a healthy civil and democratic society, and we can develop the skills to be better at this. And there's actually a toolbox of tricks and things to do. It's a bit about Galway Cycling Campaign. It really isn't about the bike for most of us who are volunteers. We want happier and healthier streets. We're a member of the Irish advocacy group called cyclist.ie. We're a member of our local participation network, GoPPN, and we run some popular campaigns online using the hashtags IBikeSaltHill for a temporary Salthill cycleway. We're still working on that. Hashtag Galway by Bike, people cycling around the city and county. And given the times we live in as well, that this machine fights climate change is very important to us. We're on Facebook and Twitter at Galway Cycling. Please connect with us there. So these are the kind of people on bikes that are members of us. People on 2 wheels, 3 wheels, chariots, electric bikes, cargo bikes, all different types. And we're very, very strong on bringing our advocacy right into the heart of communities by organising community cycle events. Again, where there's children on balance bikes, on bike seats in the lashing rain, as there was last September, and also with young children. And there in the photo on the right is Mayor Colette Connolly, who leads our regular monthly cycles for temporary facilities in Galway, and what we want ultimately a network of permanent cycleways. And just to say, in the last 2 years, whilst pop-up cycle lanes and pandemic improvements have been made to streets and cycle lanes across Ireland, Galway City Council hasn't built an inch of new protected and segregated cycleway in about a decade, which is very, very frustrating. We hope to see changes happen this year, but we really feel that there is a huge demand for people to be able to cycle safely, and a huge need. And we're doing our bit by giving people the opportunity to make their voices heard. We have a lot of people who are involved who are women on wheels. We do campaigns like Light Up Your Bikes, where we distribute free rechargeable bikes funded by Galway City Council and the RSA, the Safety Authority, Road Safety Authority of Ireland. And there's a huge amount of mums and young children involved with us as well. Galway is also home to the cycle bus movement in Ireland. This started about 3 or 4 years ago with just one cycle bus. There's now about 6 in Galway City and County and about 25 across the country. And on the right hand side, you can see here a kind of a metro map of one of the cycle routes where there's a number of pickup points and drop-off points. And so the Easter Corp cycle bus passed by about 6 different schools in the city centre every day. So this is a little video about our campaign for Salt Hill Cycleway. Please enjoy. We held a special event on the day before Galway City Council. We're due to receive a report on a public submission about a temporary cycleway. About 400 people turned up. You can see it was quite a miserable, wet, cold day. And this to us shows that there's a huge amount of people to cycle here. People don't cycle here every day because it's not safe to do so. This road's dangerous, it needs to be fixed. Margaret here is 94, and she got to enjoy riding around in a trishaw, courtesy of cycling that age. In the centre there, you can see a woman using a tricycle. She finds it easier to cycle rather than to walk. And this is what safe cycleways do. They create mobility opportunities for people of all ages and all abilities. And lots of people who drive also want us to be safe on the road. And what we really want is to give people the option to leave the cars in the driveway for short trips, under 2 kilometres or under 5 kilometres. So that's kind of what we're about. And I say we're part of this island-wide network of over 60 campaign groups who are involved in everything from greenways to local campaign groups, cycle buses, bike festivals, and also importantly, a lot of these groups now work together in a rural collective to try and, because so much historically has been focused on making cycleways and safe cycling in urban centres, particularly in our 4 or 5 big cities, but also people in rural Ireland equally deserve to be safe cycling. And again, just across Galway, we've about 12, 15 different groups right across the city and Galway, which really again shows just how many people want to get involved. And most of these groups have been set up in the last 2 years. There's been a huge interest in people wanting to cycle safely. And importantly for people here gathered today, these adults want to help you cycle safely. So, campaign toolbox, what can we actually do? There's essentially kind of 3 things. There's the attitude, which I believe in the golden rule. And I really want you to learn about some actions where you can actually be the change you want to see. Organise events, learn to write high impact letters that only take 10 lines, honestly, and I'll go through it with you. And most of all, I really want you to learn how to say, I want, and also help us, help me. Because it's really important that we ask directly for what our needs are. And that way people can respond and help us. So the golden rule, everything we do comes from this place of doing unto others as we have others do unto us. And just a note just on power and influence, when we talk about change and campaigning, it's important to recognise that some people have power, and these are kind of the government, local authorities, civil service, even your school board, your school principal has power, and other folks have influence, and that includes us as campaigners and as individuals. So our councillors here are really responsible for delivering active travel on the ground in our communities. And it's important to remember these are part-time workers, and they don't have staff unlike the TDs and senators. And here on an International Women's Day, there are schools attending from all over the country, and this mirrors quite nicely with a lot of the campaign groups that I talked about earlier. So what can you do? There's direct action. This can be everything from footpath protection, like this mum and her children in Belmont, who were just standing on the side of the footpath and not letting cars park on the double yellow lines or on the footpath or scooch up on the footpath to go around. There's cycle lane protection here in Dublin's West Row. Now there's actual bollards there to protect the cycleways. And here on the right hand side is one of the examples of a rural cycle bus in Bridge, County Galway. You can organise events on the neighbourhood level, like here in Shantala in Galway City, and also a flash mob event, which something I organised in about 2 hours notice one summer, and about 50 people showed up. And that's really about using the power of social media. Bike Week is coming up in May, and I would really encourage you all to think about hosting an event in your community, either something you organise yourselves or also to participate with all these campaign groups that are across the country. Now, if there's one thing I can ask you to take away from today, it's this. It's how to write a high impact letter in 10 lines or fewer. When you want something, you don't need to write a 6-page essay. You just need to be short and sweet and specific. So whether it's to your school principal, a local councillor, a TD or a senator, you very simply begin with, hello, my name is, where you live, and then tell them briefly your story. I want a cycle lane to school because I'm concerned about the fast moving cars and I don't feel safe. Or you can tell them about a bad experience you have and what you think what the solution is to make that better. Be specific about the solution that you want. Ask them explicitly for their support. If there's an event you're hosting, give them all the details, the time, date, location. You can let them then know if this is something you want them to respond to, or if you're happy for them just to have the information from you. Thank them for your consideration, kind regard to your name, and that's it, 10 lines. Getting good at writing letters is something, is a skill that will last you for life, and actually it does work, because if 3 of your friends also do this, or 4 of your friends do this, that really demonstrates the broad support for change in your communities, whether that's a bike rack at your local shop or at the GAA pitch, or a network, a cycle route to go to your youth club, to widen a gap in a wall that's already there, but your bike can't get through. This tool, how to write a letter in 10 lines or fewer, does work, and it will help you. Also important to think about when you're trying to become a leader or an example in your communities is engaging your local media. Whilst we've national TV and radio, local media is really, really powerful. Radio and newspapers. And again, people want to hear from you. People do want to hear your stories. They want to hear your voice. And so ask them. Ask them for help. Ask them to publicize your events, and for them to share your thoughts and the solutions that you have to make your communities better. When you're writing a media release, there's 8 elements. Again, it's about being short and sweet and clear. Who you are, you're an anti-cycles ambassador of whatever school, your contact details for more information or for an interview. Give them a compelling, concise headline. Tell them what you want. Give facts and figures, key details of events, key statistics from all the research that you know. Give a quote from a named person that somebody can put into the newspaper straight away. Ample white space, make it easy for people to read, and provide a photograph and a caption. Again, this is really important for local media to use very, very easy and quickly. Make it easy for people to say yes to you. When it comes to help, on Twitter, I have a fantastic a list of women on bikes in Ireland who are everyday cycling heroes, who are intersectional in their advocacy for safer roads to schools, shops, sports and pitches. I will share the link in the chat and you can find it, or you can find it via my my Twitter account. As I said, there are over 60 groups of cycling groups across Ireland, and these people want to help you. I have asked them, I put a shout out on Twitter, and people got back and said, please, please help. So if you want me to introduce you to any of the local groups in Ashburn, Navan, Swords, North Dublin, Athenry, Ballina, let me know and I will do that for you. Also on this notion of asking for help and how powerful it can be, I was sitting last night watching the telly and thinking about what I was going to be chatting to you today, and I thought, do you know what? I know there's really good councillors, TDs and senators out there who really care about active travel, who really want to get more teenage girls cycling. I'm just going to ask them, would they help you if I said to you, these people would like to help? So I DM'd them last night at 10 p.m. and said, hey, some of you know me, some of you don't. Told them about today's event. I said, I want to give these teenage girls you here today tools and confidence to start cycle buses in your own communities, to host or participate in cycling events. and become active travel leaders beyond the school gates and the heart of where you live. And I asked, could I suggest you as a leader to connect with? And these people all wrote back within about half an hour. So School Ashburn, Darren O'Rourke TD, he's looking to hear from you, and I have his number, so I'll give that to you. Please call him. Athenry, Councillor Shelley Heritage Quinn, she wants to chat to you, she wants to help. In Ballina, Councillor Mark Duffy is eager to help. In Blackrock, Councillor Schaefer O'Faolon is really keen to hear from people from Sign Hill, because he's pushing for a proper cycle lane on Cross Avenue and on Marion Avenue, which would be very helpful to you. In South Dublin, Kieran Ahern, who's a local area rep, is eager to help schools in that area. Fingal, please, the schools in Fingal, you are so lucky. Your Mayor, Sean O'Rourke, wants to help. Councillor Owen O'Brien and Councillor David Healy wants to help. And really exciting, if you're kind of really exciting, is that the Director of Services of Fingal County Council, Dave Story, his responsibility is active travel, and he specifically has said, please contact me. I'd like to get you involved in Bike Week. Happy to help any way we can. And in the Shannon, Senator Rebecca Moynihan is very keen to help, very keen to help, particularly young women cycle. So I really, I have contact details, I have emails, I have phone numbers. Please put your details into the chat or email, and I will text and I will send that info to you. And my request to you would like to ring them, like at lunchtime, give them a buzz and say, Martina said you're going to help us create safer cycling conditions to get to school and shops. Like, what can we do? How can you help us? So please, like, take this opportunity for all these people who want to help. And this is important about asking for help and being specific, and also being open to what people might be already working on and joining in. And as I said, also there are campaign groups across Ireland who want to help you, and all of these people are open to hearing from you. Again, send me your details and I'll connect you to your local one. So finally, I just want to give you just like, you take 30 seconds or so just to kind of think about right now, like what's the big problem you have? What's the solution really to the problem that you have? Who's your target audience to help you fix that? What's the best action? Is it a letter? Is it an event? Is it a social media campaign? Who do you want to help you? And when you've identified those things, think of 2 actions you can do today, 2 actions you can do this week, and maybe 1 action that you can take today. Because everything that you do will bring you closer and closer to creating what we all want, is just a network of safe cycleways across this country for people of all ages and all abilities. Thank you very much for your time. I hope it's given you some tools and some confidence and a big pool of adults with influence and adults with power who want to help you across the country. Please contact me, email me, martina@galwaycycling.org. I'm on Twitter at Martina Callanan. You can find me also on Twitter at Galway Cycling. And please today on International Women's Day, learn to say out loud and clear, I want, and help me, so that you can be the change that you want. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Martina. What a great list of resources. I hope you all wrote down those names in your area, and feel free, like Martina said, to reach out to her, and you can ask more questions at the end. So this will bring us to our last speaker, who is a Green Schools travel officer, so our co-worker. Her name is Sarah McEllistrem. Sorry if I pronounced their last name wrong. Sarah is an avid cyclist who is passionate about the independency that bike and active travel can offer, and likes to experience the world by bike and by foot. Sarah hiked the Camino and also completed a solo journey by bike through Europe in 2019, and she's going to talk about her experiences now. So everyone, welcome Sarah.
Hi guys, how's everyone? Recognizing a few faces on the call from Sign Hill from last week, so hi everyone. I'm just going to get my screen up. You might just see yourselves real quick for a second and then it'll be gone. Okay, yeah, can everyone see? We nods. Move yourselves off the screen. Perfect. Cool. So guys, yeah, my name is Sarah. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my cycling trip. It's going to be a lot of pictures because that's kind of how I did the trip. I wasn't expecting to be given a presentation on it whenever I did it, you know. So yeah, so the reason I kind of did this trip was, or like the reason why I'm so into cycling on the bike is like I come from Limerick myself. I'm from like down the countryside. I live on an 80-kilometer road. I was never really able to cycle in school, and when I got to university, like up in Dublin, I got my bike, and I literally haven't gotten off it since, I would say, just because for the independence of it and just for being able to get around, avoiding traffic, getting around quicker than by on foot, even though walking is also great too. Yeah, so like when I went off on this trip, I was kind of I wasn't like nervous until it was basically my family started making me nervous for how a female cyclist would be going off on her own doing a trip, which is just like typical. Of course, like you're on your own, something's going to happen, but like of course is like the issues with the road, but more so the things that I was being encountered with was like the fact that I was a girl. It wasn't even the fact that, you know, possibly getting knocked down by a car, which of course might happen on more dangerous roads and such. So that was a big thing for me, was kind of, you know, arguing and kind of to my family that I'd be fine. And we kind of got there in the end. I just was eventually like, right, book the tickets, off I go. Big thing I found about like doing this trip though was like the support that you actually find on the road is like incredible. Like people warn you about talking to strangers, but honestly, like I like obviously like don't talk to strangers in a bad way. Like I'm not saying to go off talking to strangers now, but like if you're asking for help on the road, like you just be so like shocked at the amount of people who just like pop up out of nowhere and tell you where to go, or they're just so helpful and like they see you're on your own and they just want you to have a good time. So this is a nice quote I found, and it's something that I really felt while doing the trip. It's like we don't meet people by accident. They were meant to cross our path for a reason. And this happened to me so many times in the trip. Like I was stuck in a good few places and these people literally popped up behind signs, told me where to go. And I was like, that's crazy. This lady literally just appeared behind these places. But yeah, so the reason it's dammed to Dolomites, I'm not going to go into the whole trip because we'd be here for like an hour if I was to go into every little stage. At the dam, of course, is Amsterdam, and the Dolomites is kind of where I ended up working for a month on a workway, which I'll just mention briefly. There's no slides for it, but we'll talk about it. So this is the wee trip that I did. Basically, this I just grabbed off of my Google timeline history, which is a nice thing to do if you're ever looking for where you've traveled over the years. So this is back in 2019. Landed into Amsterdam. This is my wee list that I'd done for when I was actually doing the trip. You can kind of see a rough guesstimate of the amount of kilometers per day, where I was going through to. I don't know if you can see my mouse on the screen when I'm doing it, but you can. Cool. Yeah, so basically kind of landed into Amsterdam, came down through this way. I visited a few friends on the way. I camped, stayed in hostels in the cities and such, just because like you can't really put your camp up in the middle of the town. And yeah, then there's a big gap here is basically it got very wet. I had planned to go down through the Parc Naturel in France-Luxembourg border and kind of cycle down through there, but my gear wasn't particularly good. It was September, it's going to be wet, it's going to be cold. So sometimes you just got to do the smarter thing. Like I did want to cycle all the way, but like it's not good to be too bold-headed at the same time. So yeah, you need to kind of travel smartly in that kind of a sense and kind of realize your comeuppance when you need to just take a bus. But the good thing is flexi-bus are available where you can pack your bike on. It's not too expensive. They're long trips, but they work quite well. Sometimes you might have a bit of an argument with the bus driver, even though there is a bus space or bike space, they can tell you that that's not possible. And then you just have to show them everything that's online that it is possible. So again, you'll come across like a lot of people who just don't want you there essentially. So yeah, we'll get into it a little bit. So before setting out, this is basically what I did for packing. Again, I'm a really big fan of lists. I don't think you can go too wrong with lists. Like make a list, check it twice, like possibly more times. You can see the amount of scribbling I've done on it. There's a few things I had to pick up along the way, like cycling shorts and decathlon, because getting out to IKEA and stuff here was a bit hard in Ballymun and Dublin for me. Big thing is like pack light. Do practice packing to like see whereabouts in your bag it's going to go. You're going to be like packing this every single day, so it's good to kind of have a bit of a routine as to where everything's going rather than shoving it in. Although some mornings when you're in a rush you might end up shoving it in. So yeah, I have all my bits there. We can see I have a bike pump, I have a head torch for camping, a few first aid things there, like what's it called? I was supposed to say anthracite, not anthracite. Arnica for sore muscles, any kind of knee and ankle things. This is my tent, the sleeping bag, which I ended up replacing because that was far too cold. And this is actually my housemate's sleeping mat, which I didn't bring just because I was just using it for practicing packing because I ordered a different one to arrive to my friend's house in Brussels. These are the clothes, not entirely stylish for the whole trip, but that's not the point of it, is it? Nice. So basically brought like one little dress that was very handy to wear. You could wear it in the nighttime, daytime, all the time, pajamas, whatever. I think I picked up one other t-shirt on the way and the rest was just kind of like sports gear because that's what you're going to want for the day anyway. Camping knife, very helpful. Obviously be careful with knives when you're camping, you might cut yourself. I did a few times getting used to it. But it's just handy to have for like preparing your lunch, everything, like really. So this was kind of what my bike looked like when I was traveling. So this is kind of like me practicing in my yard at home. So yeah, like I had a kind of a backpack that went across like the back of it like that was all connected, and slotted my sleeping bag in there and the pretend mat. This got a lot bigger as the trip went on, I will say. This was just the tester before we left. But yeah, it's good to see how it goes on, get used to like taking it off and on because you will be doing that like in the mornings and when you're stopping. And of course, just a bit of a rain sheet for when we're traveling along. Now for packing the bike for flying, so I flew from Dublin to Amsterdam. It's easy enough to pack the bike. There's a lot of videos online you can use. Really important thing is deflate the tires, something you might not think of, but if you bring gas up, it will expand the same thing as it will do inside of your tires and your tubes, which would just burst the tubes. So you don't really want to be rocking up to the airport and have absolutely no way to cycle. Of course, we should have our spare tubes, know how to repair them, but I'm not sure what an airplane kind of combustion with gas would do. It might completely destroy it. Then for packing, just like kind of bubble wrap everything. It's really important to like bubble wrap your rear derailleur. I did drop my bike into the shop before going for the trip just because I wanted to have it ready to go. Have it nice and smoothly running with all the gears and stuff. Obviously, I think I was chatting to the girls in Sign Hill last week about gears. It's something you kind of do want the bike shop to have a look at. Unless you're super comfortable with doing it. It's just quite tricky. Like I even tried it myself before and it's hard. So yeah, handlebars obviously come off because they would be too sticky outy. The pedals and the front wheel. And we shove that all into the box basically. Duck wrap is your best friend when you're getting a cardboard box. You can get the cardboard box basically from a bike store. So you just get that secondhand, they give it to you for free generally. Coming back, I was unfortunate enough in France that they charged me for the bike box, but that just depends, I suppose, on where you are. But yeah, free bike box. You can pop it into the recycling when you get to the airport, which is quite handy. You can, if you're traveling more often, get bike boxes that are hard frame, but you need to have somewhere to store that when you get in or somewhere to put it on your bike, and it can quite like cumbersome. So yeah, my journey basically started at 4 a.m. I went to bed at 2 a.m. because this is all the last minute packing, making sure that you have everything. So it was a very sleepy morning getting there. Met a few characters on the way, met a nice drunk man on Mead Street who offered to help me carry the bike box and then offered to put it in his garden for me when I went traveling. And I was like, no, thank you. But had a nice little conversation with him anyway. Yeah, so then we get to Amsterdam and you might be wondering where I'm showing you a picture of my breakfast. It's not to make you hungry, come up to lunch. It's because this is like getting in and like the first meal in Amsterdam. I got super excited by the stroopwafel. I love them. I don't know if anyone's ever tried them. If you have, they're amazing. And a big thing about this though is the fact that I arrived in and had this breakfast and the coffee that I really needed meant that I actually ran into a couple that I also needed to meet. And this is the big thing where I'm saying about like people you meet on the way, you meant to meet. So as I mentioned, I did drop my bike into the bike shop to get fixed before leaving, but did not realize they put in different tubes, the different connector for pumping up the bike. So my hand pump didn't actually fit my bike wheels. So I was there with 2 flat tires and I couldn't go anywhere. And that was a great start to the trip. these things do happen. Obviously, these are things I should have checked before. This is my first big cycling trip. Anyway, we went off anyway, we got through it. But there was a lovely Canadian couple across the way who happened to have a bike pump. He happened to be Allen keys, so I gave him my Allen keys. He gave me his bike pump. He was a bike mechanic. We were making sure the bikes were all put together again, and they were going off on their own cycling trip, him and his wife. So yeah, I was very, very lucky to basically run into them, which is one of my first lucky encounters of the trip. And so just to let you guys know, in case you ever are planning on doing a trip like this, for me it was €60 with Ryanair. The flights were cheaper now than Aer Lingus, just a little bit more expensive to get on the plane. And then Aer Lingus is €40. I just looked it up today. I wasn't sure what it was beforehand. Yeah, so then we were ready to go. I was excited to go. This is my little Trangia, which is like the cooking equipment kind of hacked onto the side. And this is literally just outside the airport. So it was literally out from the airport, get up and go. We're not going to like do anything else except for get on the bike. And I was really excited about going, and like I just kind of plugged in. I bought a little Garmin GPS thing off secondhand off a guy in Dublin. So I put in Decathlon. That was the first place I needed to go to get cycling shorts and a few other things like energy bars and a few other bits for the bike that you just kind of make the journey a little bit easier. So pop that in anyway to Google Maps, and off we went. And sure, where did we go? We came from the airport there, and this is just a little picture. I didn't actually take many pictures in Amsterdam because it was quite busy. So I'm very much going off what past Sarah has done. So this is just a stock photo online of what it would look like. So basically went from here. There's 2 decathlons there, as we'll see, which is part of the next part of the journey. I went to this one at first. This is the one I meant to go to. Because this is the way I was going for the day. So I started off on my journey very excited, plugged it into Decathlon, the Garmin, never used it before. So obviously it just brought me to this one. I went 17 kilometers in the wrong direction and had to go another 17 kilometers this way and then continue on to the campsite, which was closing at 6 o'clock that night, which was a good, strong push. Wasn't all bad. I did manage to, the road mistaken. So I did manage to clock this photo, which will just show you the kind of maybe the mood I was in when I was like opening my phone at that time. It's not all glamour when you're on a trip. I don't know, the Instagram pictures might be a bit different, but this is this is the reality of it. It was still quite a lovely cycle on the way. I saw these wee car things around the road, which I thought were quite interesting, the electric cars for kind of getting around Amsterdam. These are the kind of crossings that you'd be coming across. Like they're really the infrastructure there is amazing. Like it's so pleasant to cycle around. Like this long canal was like one of the longest canals I probably cycled along the way. One thing about the Netherlands, it's beautiful. There's so much like cycling paths. There's a lot of wind. Like there's a lot of wind because it's very flat, which is obviously great for the wind turbines and all the green energy that they're making. But this was a big long stretch of headwinds, which if you're getting used to cycling, try to cycle with the wind, it makes it a lot easier. So I'm going to try and not take too long on these because I can keep chatting on the stories. This is the first campsite that I arrived into. Of course, I was going on my trip in September. You can see I was the only tent in the whole place, which was interesting. This place, though, it was like this is kind of a campsite part of the Dutch waterline, which is the 17th century like military defense building. Again, had very lovely people in there. I went off and got excited to cook with my Trangia for the first time. Realized after going to Lidl, buying potatoes and broccoli and everything, that I had forgotten to buy the spirits that you need to light to cook with the Trangia. So the start of the trip is definitely full of more of these stories at the end of it, I will say. So that's probably why the start of the trip is kind of a bit longer. But yeah, so I carried around a pack of potatoes and broccoli for a few days until I reached my friend's house. And then just to show you a little bit about what camping would be like if you were to be cooking on your own. I love this part of the trip the most because I think it's so much fun, being able to get up in the morning, cook your own food outside the tent you put up yourself and get off for the day and then pack everything up and move on. Like there's such like an independence about it. You're really just like relying on yourself, which is like a really big thing. Something I didn't mention was like I didn't have a lot of water on the first day cycling because the restaurants and stuff wouldn't give you enough water, and you really need to start like you kind of kick into survival mode when you're going on these long bouts of the day. But I find it really fun. So yeah, again, we have the camping knife there coming in very handy, my little spork. And then just cooking a bit of a pasta for the morning. You want to load up on a lot of carbs, as you can see I did. Still on to this day, but that's fine. So just to have a look, this is just cycling through Utrecht, which is a lot more pleasant than cycling through Amsterdam, I will say. It's just a bit of a quieter city. Saw a lovely wedding going down the canal. Like, this is something I really like again about like cycling. You get to stop off anywhere, like with these really beautiful places. Like, you get to see all the scenery. You get to like just talk to people along the way. It's a way like more immersive way of traveling, I find, because you're really kind of engaging with the community. Like a man with his dog was cycling along beside me at one stage in the city and was like telling me where to go, and we had a little chat. I wasn't very good at taking selfies at the start, so I was kind of taking messing ones. So that was me eating my lunch that I quite enjoyed. And yeah, that was my fine bike that you will end up loving your bike if you end up spending so much time with it. You kind of end up talking to it at the end of the trip almost. So so this was my first night camping, my second night camping, which was in just outside Breda. So these are the lovely little creatures you kind of come across when you're camping. There was just one big fella that I took a picture of in the tent. They tend to stay on the outside of it if you manage to keep the fly trap closed. Hope there's no one squeamish enough to be worried by those. And then this is just like the gorgeous morning. So this was like the coldest night of the trip. I think it got down to like 5 degrees. I didn't have a sleeping mat at the time and ended up putting on all of my layers sleeping. You'll survive it, but it's worth it for the morning is what I was going to say. And again, if I don't know if anyone speaks German, keine trinken Wasser, I thought was drinking water, but apparently it's do not drink the water, just in case anyone's ever traveling through Germany. There was a lovely little well beside the campsite I was about to fill my water from the day, and this lovely German woman came running at me telling me not to use it because apparently it was dirty water. So yeah, that's just a handy little word to know if you are ever going through Germany. It's very good roads to be going, or sorry, Netherlands. This is just more pictures. Like I said, it's going to be a lot of pictures because kind of it's the nature of a trip. More pictures from the day. These are the kind of like lovely forest paths you kind of go down. There's the geese in the Netherlands. That was myself having a good time. This wee dog I've included because again I spoke to this couple. They invited me back to their house for tea, doing my laundry and everything. Very helpful along the way. I didn't end up going in the end because I was on my way to Antwerp, but I did tell my mother their address because I was half thinking of going over for a cup of tea. So that's always really important to tell people where you're going if you're ever kind of in those situations. And obviously don't go anywhere you're feeling uncomfortable with, and always like leave a situation that you feel uncomfortable with, especially like traveling on your own. It is very liberating, but it is also good to stay quite alert. This was like just a lovely couple anyway. I wanted to take a picture of the dog and the feather. Getting into Antwerp, this is something that I love to see in Ireland. Firstly, the horse-shaped bike stands are great. I don't know, I'm a big fan of horses, as my colleagues know. So yeah, these are all the kind of bike stands they have in Amsterdam or in Antwerp, sorry. The bike free days, they have lovely markets going on. You can see those like kids like spray painting all up along here, and like you could cycle and walk all over the city, and like it's something that would be beautiful to kind of see in Dublin if that was ever something for the future where you can just go around on your bike. I think they do it in France quite a lot as well. Like there's like less traffic into the cities on Sundays. This was my mascot that I picked up in Antwerp. It's just nice to have something on the back of your bike that makes you recognizable. Beaselbud.
So sorry, Sarah, to interrupt. I'm loving the presentation. I just wanted to make you aware that we are a bit tight for time if you want to have the Q&A session.
Okay, sorry, yeah,
just to give you a heads up, like I didn't want to for you to finish it up right now, but just
yeah, cool. I'll fly through these. So yeah, that was with my friends.
Thank you.
This was one of the things. Warm showers is something if you're cycling, you can become a part of this community for cyclists. Sorry, I knew I was going to run over with the amount in the trip. So basically, like you can. This is a family I stayed with in Ghent. I could actually just finish it up kind of on this slide and the story she told me instead. So this lady was living in a community that had like 0 cars on the road. They flattened all the pavement so that people could cycle around, and the kids in the area, there was a woman in the area who drove really quickly, and the kids in the area were telling her to slow down, and basically she was very mean and shouted back at the lady that I was staying with. And then a year later, that lady's cat went missing. And then the lady that I was staying with found her cat, gave it back to her. And the lady who was speeding sent her a Buddha statue saying that she had changed her with her kindness, which is just a really nice story, I thought. We can fly through those photos. I knew I was putting away too much. These are roads that disappeared in the middle of the day because of Google Maps bringing me down the wrong road. I had to push my bike back up that hill, cycled along, very sad. That got better, and then the chain broke. And then again, found some very nice people who fixed my chain, and then got down to the romantic road, which is Romantistaus in Germany. And the rest of the trip was a bit more kind of calm from there. Went there, finished there, and stayed along there along the way. So we can kind of finish it there because I know I'll just keep going anyway. Thank you guys. Sorry about going over.